Pierce Brosnan returns once again as James Bond in 1997's Tomorrow Never Dies, the 18th official entry in Eon's 007 series and the first to be produced after the death of longtime producer Albert Cubby Broccoli. It's also the first time that the film's title does not have any relation to Ian Fleming's life or work. The original title, Tomorrow Never Lies, directly referencing the film's villain's newspaper company, was misread in a Xeroxing typo as Tomorrow Never Dies, which everyone seemed to love more, and so the name stuck. The film focuses on Elliot Carver, a villain hell-bent on initiating World War III and reaping the benefits by exploiting the headlines via his massive media conglomerate. A fresh storyline that would become somewhat dated within a few years with the ever-growing advent of the internet, something that Carver doesn't seem too interested in throughout the film. Returning along with Brosnan this time around are Dame Judy Dench as M, Desmond Llewellyn as Q, Samantha Bond as Miss Moneypenny, and Joe Don Baker as Jack Wade, Bond's CIA liaison. New Bond girls include TV's Lois Lane, Terry Hatcher as Paris Carver, and Michelle Yeoh as Wai Lin. Joining the villains along with Jonathan Pryce as Elliot Carver are Ricky Jay as Henry Gupta, Gotts Otto as Stamper, and Vincent Ciavelli as the deranged Dr. Kaufman. This film is the only one of Brosnan's films to not open at number 1 at the box office, because it opened on the exact same day as James Cameron's Titanic, which of course went on to become the highest grossing film of all time, a record that it held onto for 12 years. The film was reviewed positively for the most part, and the title song, performed by Sheryl Crow, was nominated for Best Original Song in a Motion Picture at the Golden Globes that year. While slightly dated, Roger Ebert at the time of the film's release said, "The longest-running movie series seems fit for the 21st century." Will Harris, Colin, and I agree with this sentiment? Find out on this month's episode of Bondcast, James Bondcast, as we cover the second film to star Pierce Brosnan as Ian Fleming's James Bond in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Darling, you won, it's no fun. Martinis, girls, and guns, 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 guns,
All right, welcome to Bondcast, James Bondcast. I'm your host, Matt McGregor, along with my co-host, Harris McCabe. Harris, how's it going?
It's going good.
And Colin Shaw, what's up, dude?
Hanging in there, doing it.
We're joined by our special guest engineer once again. This is Chris Gill. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Nice. That was a good comment, Chris.
Yeah. So, Tomorrow Never Dies. Here we are.
Never. It's never going to die. It's always going to be tomorrow.
Because there always will be
around.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clever. It's the first time that a title of the movie has nothing to do with anything.
Well,
it's
got nothing to do with
the plot.
Fleming stuff. It's got to do with his newspaper is called Tomorrow. So
Yeah, no, it's relevant to the plot of the movie.
But
It's not like they made it with the refrigerator magnets.
Yeah, but it is not associated with any previous James Bond thing. So
yeah,
a wholly original title.
Holy crap is more like it.
I agree.
This is also the first time, actually in film history, that a movie was paid for entirely through product placement, the whole budget of the film.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Avis.
did not know that.
Yeah, Avis.
Is Avis a thing anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They rent
okay.
cars still.
Well, yeah, but I feel like the Hertz is really...
This reminds me to bring up our sponsor, Avis.
Avis, yeah. Avis, better than Hertz. Or you
and
suck.
Alamo, or there's actually several rental
No,
car
I just think
companies.
like...
Do people even still rent cars, Colin says? This is a man who... Yeah, I guess, Colin, if we could all afford
it's
fancy
not
chauffeurs to take us everywhere like you, but some of us have to rent cars like normal
It's
people.
not that. It's like I thought that Avis was doesn't have the same kind of market share anymore.
I don't know. I'm not sure I haven't been tracking the ups and downs of the Avis company, but it still is a thing.
For
mean,
sure.
It's coming back now. Now that's in a prominent podcast.
Yeah.
Their stock just went up.
Rental cars. Why don't they just rent limousines?
The CEO Gerald Davis. Some guy just stormed into his office. Something's happening with the stock. just quadrupled. That can't happen. I'm Gerald Davis.
It was 1 and now it's 4.
Do you have iTunes? You've got to tune into this podcast. I know it's not live, but something's happening right now.
We still got our so you want to talk about a little bit about who made this movie?
Sure.
Because speaking of the budget, it was $110 million. It did well. It did not do as well as GoldenEye. It had a bigger domestic gross than GoldenEye, but made a little less money overall. But it was seen as a success. It was directed by Roger Spottiswoode. Spottiswoode. Best known for Turner and Hooch, Air America, and the seminal classic Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Is Turner and Hooch the one with Tom Hanks and a dog?
It is.
Okay,
Yes.
I've never seen that fully.
It's the best of all the cop-dog pairings, barely edging out Canine with Chuck Norris.
Does Cujo count as one of those? There's no cop in
No,
Cujo.
there's no cop in Cujo. No. Not in the version I saw.
Maybe a cop gets mauled by him. I don't know. I will note that more than half the people in this room are sick, so you're going to hear a lot of throats being cleared and hacking coughs and sniffles. So.
I feel like I just sound different entirely. I got more long.
No, that's how you always sound.
Oh.
You always sound like
Also interesting is the DP of this film is Robert Ellsworth, who is one of the most successful DPs ever. I think this was his only Bond film, but this is the same year he shot Boogie Nights. He shot most of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies, including There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love. He shot a lot of David Mamet's movies. He shot a few of George Clooney's movies. I think he shot all of Dan and Tony Gilroy's movies. So that's like Nightcrawler and Michael Clayton.
It's tight with the gills.
And two Mission Impossibles, the Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation.
That's awesome.
So he is a very acclaimed and successful, both in like sort of the niche art house stuff
one of the top
and
guys,
big action stuff. Yeah, he's been for a long time, and just the number of great auteurs that consistently bring him on, in addition to all the big budget blockbusters that do. He knows what he's doing, and the movie looks fine.
Did you know? Better than fine.
Yeah,
Did you
good-looking
notice
film.
this specific part of it? You can tell there's some good work going in. Did you notice that the villain wears glasses in every scene, and every time the villain is in a one shot where it's just him, there is something in his glasses specifically reflecting a light or a shape. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that. That's a very specific thing to notice.
I noticed there was something
What
going on
does
with
it
his glasses.
mean?
There's a lot of like from the side profile kind of shots
Yeah,
going
but
on.
anytime he's like blocked where he's in one position, there's a light somewhere that's reflecting in his glasses to make a specific part of the glasses have a specific reflection.
That's interesting.
That is very.
And you
that's
can
some very
tell it's
thoughtful DP shit.
Yeah, you can tell it's part of the design of the shot and not
accident,
a mistake. Yeah.
So shall we get right into it? Let's talk about the cold open.
Sure. The gun barrel's the same, right?
I believe it is
Still
the
the
same.
CG. I think. Although, didn't they switch back to the? It's not the.
The music
you
is
know what?
different.
I think it's different because look, see this, and then see. We've got a special book. Here. See
yeah.
that? It looks different.
Oh yeah, there's a
The
little bit
color's
different. So they
different.
might have tweaked it a little bit. It is still another CGI thing, roughly the same thing.
The
And
color in this movie in general is different. It has more of these shades, this kind of gray, but like the blue gray you get from like a TV snow.
Right. Yeah, there is a lot of that.
Yeah, I
sort of
felt like
blue-gray
GoldenEye
and-
was like a warmer movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is blue gray, and even the browns are very sepia and muted. And they've gone back to the original James Bond theme for the.
Yeah,
gun
the
barrel.
music got closer to what we are used to.
Yeah, scoring was very traditional.
Yeah.
I thought, in doing the research, we found out that they chose the song that's in the end credits and they added themes from it throughout the score.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they didn't have to beef with Sheryl Crow and they had added the themes
Is that
from
why they
that.
did it?
It was whoever whoever did the music.
Yeah, the
was
composer
like,
wanted to write the theme song.
That.
And then they were like, no, we really like this one that Sheryl Crow did. They actually had a contest with a bunch of different
Artists.
people, like Pulp, and I can't remember some other people that I didn't recognize. But I actually listened to a lot of the songs. They were all bad. The Sheryl Crow one was the best one, and they really liked it, so they said, no, we were going to use this one. So he was like, well, I'm doing this for the tail credits. And then he used themes from his own song that he composed for the film. And I agree. I think it would have been a lot cooler to have
this song really grows on you, I think. Like, if you listen to it more than one time,
yeah,
the Sheryl Crow song.
I did notice the themes throughout the movie, and I was like, where are they getting these themes from? They're not from the song. And then when I heard the end credit song, it all made sense.
It's like almost works backwards.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to describe the cold open? Where are we in the cold open?
Near the Russian border.
I see.
At an arms bazaar.
And we're seeing some very sophisticated
terrorist
surveillance camera footage.
Yeah, we got the pop-up surveillance camera, and then we see the MI6 headquarters. They're all over it. They're looking at the pictures. They're seeing what's getting sold, what's getting bought, who's
We've got
there,
M and
the
Money
who's
Penny
who,
and some general.
and this guy that they use in more than one movie. What's his character's name? You know what I'm talking about?
Depends on who you're talking about.
He's in Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, that guy. What is his name?
Well, his real name is Colin, which is why I made a point to do this.
Charles Robinson, M's deputy chief of staff.
I always like this guy. He's a very good Charles Robinson, and he's a member of the Brotherhood of the Colin, which I can speak no more about.
It's all top secret.
Moving on. James Bond is actually there, and we find that out, of course. Because
we find that out really fucking late. They're being really withholding with revealing James Bond, because this is the second movie in a row where we don't see him or even hear his voice. They're all at MI6 headquarters, and they're watching this basically a terrorist yard sale of weapons where all these bad guys from all around the world are just buying crazy weapons at this place. And they keep on referring to a person there as White Knight.
Right.
Like, well, White Knight says this, and White Knight's doing that. And
all the people essential to the operation have a code name based on a chessboard.
And Charles Robinson keeps on talking, and he says, White Knight this, White Knight that, and he's talking to him
like
over
Black
the intercom.
Rook or something?
But he's not getting any, we're not hearing the voice, we're not seeing anything. And then finally, almost 5 minutes into the movie, we finally cut to Bond.
I like the way they do it, too. He's like, okay, we ordered the missile strike, you're good. And then he's like, are you looking at or you don't know what he's saying, but he's saying something like, are you looking at this? He's like, of course I'm looking at it. I can see the screen right here, whatever. And then the Jeep moves slightly, and one of the airplanes has nukes on it. Or some kind of made-up nukes.
Yeah, M is basically saying, hey, we should be cautious. We've got a guy there. He's going to take care of it. And then some general's like, no, we got it from here, M, and takes over and orders a missile launch to blow all these people up. And then Bond is like, no, don't launch missiles at it because you could blow up these nukes. And the only way he can think to save the day, once the missiles are in the air and they can't be taken back, the only thing he can think to do to save the day is steal the plane with the nukes on it and get it to safety so everything doesn't blow up.
So he just starts raising hell, punches a guy out, starts shooting, running around, stuff's blowing up.
It's basically him with a machine gun with like an AK-47 versus every other guy there. And somehow
he's got grenades though. He does it. First he walks up to a guy.
He also had the element of surprise.
Right, exactly. And then he gets in the airplane. He flies away. It looks like he explodes, but he flies through the explosion and he makes it. But another guy in an airplane chases him, and the co-pilot, he knocked him unconscious, but he wakes back up. So the co-pilot tries to strangle him. Of course, this is bad, but he's got his knees available still, so he just starts flying the plane with his knees.
So he's in a dogfight with this other guy, but he's only flying with his knees, and he's somehow evading this guy shooting at him.
So he puts the Top Gun moves on him, and then he ends up right underneath the other guy, who's just looking around like, what the hell? I lost him.
And you know why that guy can't see him? Because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he has walleye vision. You could see it in his crossed eyes. He has a bad case of walleye vision. And it could be corrected with a delicate corneal inversion treatment, but that requires multi-optic pupiloptomy. and then they have to go in through the rectum.
My God.
Yes, besides Avis, we're also sponsored by Harris's Optometrist.
That was a reference to Hot Shots.
Yes, it was. I'm glad one of you caught it.
I'm glad you knew it so well.
Multi-optic pupiloptomy.
Wait, is that Hot Shots 2?
No man's going to take that path with me. No, that's the first one. So, John Cryer character.
I thought Hot Shots 2 was the one where they're Top Gun.
No, that's
Parody.
No,
that's
that's
Rambo.
Oh, Hot Shots 2 is Rambo, and Hot Shots 1
Part
is
two.
Top Gun.
Get your
Part
shit
two.
together, Colin. Get your shit together.
I-
Anyways,
I'm gonna go home and watch Hot Shots.
anyways,
We
so
should do a
finish, so
podcast
finish the
about
story.
that.
Yeah,
Bond
we
is
should.
flying.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
being strangled from behind by his co-pilot,
Yeah.
and he's flying underneath the guy who's trying to shoot him down.
Directly underneath them.
What
So,
would you do?
obviously, you just press the eject button, which shoots the ejector seat of the guy who's trying to strangle you directly into the other plane, causing it to crash and blow up.
No. Not causing it to crash and blow up, causing it to blow up and then crash. For some reason, shooting a man into this plane.
Yeah, once the fuselage was compromised.
Yeah, once it's reached, the whole thing is gonna go. It just turns into a ball of flame.
Amazing.
I've got a real issue with everything about this Cold Open.
It's too exciting.
It's like a great idea. I love
Too fun.
I love the premise. My problem is once the action starts happening, once Bond is like attacking these people, there's no sense of geography. There's no like he's literally just like flailing the machine gun around. He's not even he's shooting with one hand. It's like whipping in all different directions. He's shooting it sideways. He's shooting it like holding like he's like spraying it like you would spray like if you were like watering your lawn recklessly. And meanwhile, people are just flying all over the place, dying. Nobody's thinking to like have a concerted attack of this one guy who's fucking all this shit up. And then the whole plane thing, I think, is a clever ending. But once again, it was just like, there was just too much it was just too action movie ridiculous.
Well, he is causing explosions to be in other places, so he's like making his own diversion. And I think he's just trying to do cover fire and not actually, kill anyone.
But he's effectively also killing people while he's doing that.
And, steering with your knees is something that can be learned.
Listen, I feel like you get really defensive whenever I attack how stupid these movies are. and I just want to make it clear. All I'm saying is, come on, guys, do better. There's no reason, like, you can have an action sequence that actually makes sense and isn't completely absurd. You just have to try harder.
I know, but I like how silly they are sometimes.
Like
Yeah, I
the
know you
last
do.
movie had an absurd thing happen, but it was built around a stunt and
when it's a man skydiving into a nosediving plane and it's awesome, I'm on board. I know it's ridiculous. I don't care. It's great. I love it. And this one had just too many of those moments. Like, I need at least to think they're trying not to do something silly. Like they have to like help me suspend my disbelief a little bit.
But then they saved it when he says backseat drivers at the end, right?
I mean, the scene. Let's say this. The scene ends really well.
I'll say the movie only goes up from here.
Yes. So good.
All right, so let's get to the title sequence. We're in the future, guys.
I like this one.
Technology.
Yeah. There's so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of robot-looking chicks and crazy.
It
stuff.
opens with
Circuit
some
board things.
90s techno graphics with like numbers and
Digital numbers.
3D. And
Yeah.
computer rendering.
A lot of like television screen theme things.
I just feel like it's the internet in big letters with exclamation points
For a
after
movie
it.
that mentions the internet in no
Like
way.
0 times.
Yeah.
But it says satellites a lot.
So are you do you guys are you guys pro just in terms of the title designs? Were you in favor
I like it.
or
I was, like,
opposed?
tripping out. I was like,
I don't even
whoa.
know why I asked. I knew you'd like it.
Let's just get it out there. I really like this movie. I did like it more when I was younger. I have grown to see some of its faults, but I've seen this one the most times, and
It holds a special place in your heart.
yeah, I just really enjoy it.
Speaking just about the main title opening, I miss the days of yesteryear when they were sexier and it was all about the nips and like a lot of like silhouettes and things. I don't like this business of like seeing things fully lit. I want to see shadows and colors and shapes instead of and nips.
And yes, I am with you in the sense that like I love the idea of they had like a certain style of, okay, we're gonna have naked ladies, we're gonna have running around, we're going to have some abstract imagery. I feel like this got close a couple of times when it was doing the X-ray stuff. I thought the X-ray
stuff
the
is
X-ray
cool.
imagery was like I can say I think I liked exactly half of the opening titles here, because whenever it was the X-ray imagery, it was like really cool, and I was like, why couldn't the whole thing be this? And then when it was the circuit board robot ladies, I was like, that's not cool and very dated looking. And then they had a lot of like TV static and red, green, blue
But then there's
type
the
stuff,
floating diamonds,
which was kind of a mixed bag. And the floating diamonds, I didn't understand at all.
I liked it.
I couldn't believe
it's
how
a
great
reference to the necklace Paris wears.
Right, I mean, but whatever. That's not like, that's such a minor.
I know, but I feel like that's something I should point out because it took me a while to figure it out.
Oh, okay. Good job, thank you. And also, what is that doing in the titles? I just don't,
'Cause
especially because it's on a woman who
you-
clearly isn't Terry Hatcher. And
They're supposed to incorporate themes and story elements into the titles.
but that's such a minor story element. I don't know.
Apparently not to the title designer.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how cool the X-ray stuff looked, and I couldn't believe how much other shit that was not cool was in there.
Yeah, it's not one for the record books. I don't know.
The
song's
song,
pretty
on the
good.
other hand,
The song's fine.
I feel like I'm on Colin's boat here. This song's better than fine. This is like the sneaky, deep cut, forgotten great Bond theme.
I would love to be in like a small venue with a live acoustic version.
Just a hint there for Sheryl Crow.
Yeah,
Is that
Cheryl.
just Cheryl.
I know you're listening.
Where are you playing this weekend? It's not of its era. It's got like a more classic sound. It's emulating like an older sound, but I felt like they totally pulled it off, and she can belt this thing out. I mean, I just really thought
Her voice is really distinct too. It doesn't really sound like anyone else's.
yeah, exactly.
It sounds the least like a Bond song thus far, I think.
But it's got that
doesn't
90s mood though.
It does have a 90s mood, but it doesn't have that, like, I don't know what the word is. Like, there's no horn element. There's
It
no...
reminded me a little. Well, there's no horn element, but there is this sort of classic vocalist, like torch song jazz element to it.
There's no orchestral accompaniment.
Right. That's what it doesn't have, and it's not really like doesn't. It's really the production is kind of low key on it. It does remind me a little bit of the Adele one that came out later.
Well, that's why I say thus far.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly. So and if I had to pick between the two of them, this one was, I knocked my socks off. I was surprised. The first time I heard it, I was like, wait, is there like a sneakily great song here? And the second time I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, this is excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's what helped when I was watching it, I was like, I remember the song being all right, and then I was like, oh, this song is getting it.
Yeah.
These titles must be good.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you were like, come on, robot ladies, bullshit.
Come on, circuit board ladies.
Circuit board ladies, whatever.
We got to do our. We're gonna get that going. All right. After I finished watching this movie last night, I was going to bed, and I just because they're all on Netflix at the moment, and we'll be leaving shortly.
Yes.
But I was just like, oh, maybe I'll just put on another one, and I'll fall asleep to it. So of course I picked the one that is our current highest rated one ever. What is it? The Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. Yeah, and saw the titles of that one, and I think that also dropped these titles a couple of points in my estimation because those are just so.
Which one
so
is
good.
that?
That's with the there's the girls, the silhouettes of the girls that are like the Russian soldiers, and he's the.
Oh
and-
yeah, that was a
it's-
good one. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing. That whole thing. It's
Yeah,
a
I love
really
those
good.
titles.
Just like in terms of that whole idea of abstract imagery and also naked ladies and also
Yeah.
James Bond stuff.
Yeah.
It really hits on all cylinders, and it's a great song.
This one was, I don't know, it was very much in its 1997 sweet spot though.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Yeah. It's honestly the same reasons I think it looks dated now is probably what makes it very much of its era.
I showed it to my Tamagotchis and they were loving it.
All right. Do you want to summarize the plot?
I think I'm ready.
3, 2.
Okay, so the first thing we see is the USS Devonshire. It's a British frigate, and they're out there in the water, and then some Chinese MiGs come in, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? You're in the Chinese waters. And they're like, we're in international waters. We know, we have the GPS. So then there's a stealth boat, and the stealth boat comes in with a big German guy, and they launch a torpedo at him, and it's got drills on the front of it. They drill a big hole in the boat, and they sink it. Meanwhile, James Bond is taking Danish lessons by having sex with the Danish teacher. And they say there's been an international incident. You got to get in here. He goes in and talks to M, and they're like, we're about to start World War III because the Chinese sunk one of our boats. And M's like, we got to figure this out. So we're going to send James Bond in there. And there's this newspaper. They knew way too soon. They knew what's going on. It's way too soon. So we're going to investigate Elliot Carver, the guy who owns the newspaper. So they send JB in there. He goes in and he's like, oh, I got to have sex with your wife because we had sex once before and she wants to again. And Carver's like, I'm insane. And then he finds out that Carver has the device that will make the ship be in the wrong spot. And then he steals it, but then Carver kills the girl, and Bond has to get away. So a bunch of carnage, and then he meets up with this Chinese woman, and they steal back the red thing that makes the ship go off course. And then they team up, and then they go, and Carver catches them, and then they escape. And then they come back and they take down Carver's stealth boat while he tries to cause World War III, and they win. And
Wow.
Yeah, I
You
got it
20
right.
seconds left.
20
Is there anything
seconds
else left to say?
There's so much more to say. Stay tuned for the podcast, the Bondcast, James Bondcast, with me, Colin Shaw, and Matt McGregor, and Harris McCabe.
Oh, wow.
Nice plug there.
With room to spare. I don't think that's ever happened before.
Never.
Did I forget anything important?
I'm sure you forgot a lot of stuff.
Yeah, probably.
You
but-
forgot Dr. Kaufman.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Kaufman.
I sort of
yeah.
talked about Dr. Kaufman, but I didn't want to get. I knew if I started talking about Dr. Kaufman, I would get sidetracked
Yeah.
because I already know that we're both dying to do like a silly German voice.
Yes.
I have to kill you in a funny way. I'm sort of silly, but I'm serious because I'm going to kill you.
That was such a weird scene.
Yeah. Let's get right into the villains and let's get right into Dr. Kaufman first.
Okay, that scene was fucking hilarious. It's Vincent Ciavelli, who is a very well-known American character actor.
So I asked Matt what other things this guy was in, and Matt immediately knew, and he was like, he's in Ghosts for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, who is he in Ghosts? And he's like,
Teaches Patrick Swayze how to touch things, poke things.
But first he says, "Get off my train."
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I told Colin the reason I know this is because my high school principal looked exactly like that actor, and so whenever he walked down the halls, kids would yell, "Get off my train!" to him.
Oh, my God, that's cruel.
I thought that was hilarious.
that is hilarious. He's also...
I just can see it in my mind, a principal walking down the hall and just when he
Looking
gets
like that guy.
being
far enough
reminded that he
down
looks
the
like-
hall, there's some kid way in the back. Get off my train!
He's just like, yes, I look like the crazy guy from Ghost.
You see him kind of twitch like he's about to turn around. He's like, no, don't do it. Don't give him the satisfaction.
He's also the organ grinder with a monkey in Batman Returns.
Yes,
in the Red
absolutely.
Triangle Circus Gang.
Yep, and he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is probably his other big.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, I've
role.
seen
He's
that.
one of the many crazy, great character actors that was very early in his career at that point.
That one also has the guy who plays what is it, Grimworm or whatever, and
Oh yeah, Brad
Brad
Dourif.
Dourif, yeah.
yeah, that guy's good.
He's also the voice of Chucky, the murderous doll.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, this scene, so somebody want to explain, this is where...
Dr. Kaufman?
Yeah, Dr. Kaufman.
Dr.
Dr. Kaufman?
Kaufman?
Dr. Kaufman, are you there?
I'm Dr. Kaufman, PhD.
So
I'm an excellent marksman, Mr. Bond.
So Elliot Carver discovers via cool like recording technology that his wife is helping Bond, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he says, "Oh, well, looks like she needs an appointment with the doctor."
Yeah.
Dun,
so-
dun, dun.
So that sounds ominous. We don't know what that means until later. Bond finds her dead body, and then
In his hotel room.
in his hotel room, and then hears on the TV that his body
It's like
was found
it's
too.
like a cable news story with the talking head who's like, earlier today, wife of Elliot Carver Paris Carver found dead in a hotel room in unusual circumstances. Another man was found dead next to him.
And he's like, uh-oh, that means me.
Yeah, and then he turns around and he's like,
realizes it's a tape.
drop the gun.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Dr.
Kick it over here.
Kaufman is there. He's got him dead to rights and basically tells him
Right off
that-
the bat, he looks goofy, not
yeah.
threatening whatsoever.
Yeah, Vincent Ciavelli is a
He's
distinct
over holding the gun.
look.
You know, he's got the gun on him, but he's like looming over his own gun.
Yeah, he's holding it very close to his body in a way that makes it difficult to aim. But he tells James Bond that he is an expert in forensic medicine and he will know how to orchestrate the crime scene to make it look like you committed a suicide. And
he could
when
do it
Bond,
from Stuttgart.
Yeah, when Bond says, if you shoot me from over there, it won't look like a suicide. He's like, I assure you, Mr. Bond, I could shoot you from Stuttgart.
From Stuttgart.
But I'm not sure if this scene makes sense in a Bond movie. I kind of like that they were trying something different. But like, there's this moment when he's communicating back and forth with Stamper, who is his assistant, who's this giant blonde German. And I'm glad we're getting back to giant blonde henchmen that don't talk a lot.
It's like every fifth movie we need one of these.
We haven't seen one in a
This guy
while.
was made to play this role.
Exactly. In
This
fact,
role
I
specifically.
think that was his audition.
Yeah.
They said he had
A 5-word audition or
They
something,
said he
yeah.
had 20 seconds to tell
Impress
them
them.
why he should be a Bond villain, and he said, "I'm big, I'm blonde, and I'm German."
I think I'm big, I'm bad, I'm German.
Yeah.
What else? Or
Yeah,
what
no,
else?
and then,
Something
he
like
was
that.
like, "You can keep the extra 15 seconds."
Yeah, keep the rest of the 10 seconds.
But anyways, I did think it was kind of funny when they were going back and forth, and they're like, because they're trying to extort
Oh.
Bond into getting his car open and stealing
Stamper
back this
says
thing
we
that
can't
he
do
took.
it, and Kaufman is like, "Did you call the Auto Club?"
And he's like, "Do you want to call him?" And they're like bickering back and forth.
Why would he even say that? That's unprofessional at that point.
Stupid.
Yeah, they're really being like catty dicks to each other, and it's kind of funny because it's like, where's this coming from? It reminds me of who were the two goofy hitmen that like held hands.
Mr.
That
Kidd
time?
and Mr. White?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Like where did they come from? They were
Or
such
Mr.
a
Kidd and
biz-
Mr. Wint. or
Yeah,
something.
Mr. Wint and
that's
Mr.
it.
Kidd. Yeah. They were a bizarre thing, and this is sort of like every once in a while you see a character pop up who's just like, "What movie is this guy from? And how did he end up in a Bond movie?"
I just had
I
another.
gotta say, I loved it.
I actually enjoyed it a lot too. I don't think it totally works, and I don't think it's totally appropriate for a scene in which Bond is mourning the loss of his ex-lover.
Well,
but
we do get that moment after he kills Kaufman, where he like weirdly kisses the dead body. Which,
yes, and he's
Yeah,
and he,
he, like,
says
does this.
and he says the doctor is out, but he doesn't actually say.
But
that.
wait,
What
I
does
just
he
I just
says
made
something
another
stupid.
connection with this Vincent Ciavelli character.
Uh-huh.
He both in this movie and in Batman Returns has a scene where he can't get into the main character's car.
Oh yeah,
Right.
right. That's true.
Right?
Weird.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the character he plays.
Yeah.
Another connection is he actually in an episode of MacGyver, he played a hitman that was trying to kill Terry Hatcher, who was a MacGyver semi-regular. She played Penny. I don't know if you guys ever watched that show, but
I did a long time ago.
but I like to
a
think
sweet show.
this movie actually works a lot better as a fun, dark sequel to MacGyver.
Yeah, and I mean Terry Hatcher is great. Lois Lane in MacGyver in this.
I thought it was kind of funny.
In
that, like-
Seinfeld.
Yeah, yeah.
In
Well,
Seinfeld.
she started off in Seinfeld.
They're real and they're what is
They're
this?
real and they're
Spectacular.
spectacular.
Spectacular. Yeah.
I forgot how huge that the New Adventures of Superman, Lois and Clark show
Yeah.
was. That was a huge
It was
show.
really big at the time.
And this was
It's-
actually
it's
the last
forgotten
season.
now.
This is the last season it aired.
Yeah.
And it was just a massive, massive hit. And like, I read somewhere in the trivia for this that the picture of her wrapped up in only Superman's cape was at one point the most downloaded picture on the internet for like a year.
I'm sure.
Because there was only 8 pictures on the internet, and that was the closest to pornography or something. I'm not sure how the logic worked, but yeah. And then she was in this. She was in a couple more things, and then she just vanished for like 6 years until Desperate Housewives, which I don't know.
She probably went and had
Which
kids.
was
or
also
something.
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
But
I can only
Also
imagine,
a big
but-
success. She was pregnant in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it. Maybe she just decided
That's why
to,
they
like,
showed her
take
more
some
from
time off and
the
raise
butt
some kids,
rather
but-
than from the front.
Apparently, her and Pierce Brosnan got into some sort of beef on set because she showed up late to set one day and he like
Yeah.
tore her a new one, only to find out that she was pregnant and he apologized to her.
Yeah, I like that story.
Yeah, I do too.
It's unprofessional. Well, I was pregnant. What?
Because he seems like a gentleman, and all the everyone that
He's a
that-
professional.
Which,
God
coming
damn
back
it.
to, I would really love to ask him. I don't want to spoil it, but in another movie, he also kisses a dead woman. I really love to get into his insight on a character that wants to kiss a dead woman.
But it's one thing to kiss a dead person,
Yeah.
but it's another thing to like make out with their cheek. He does some weird thing.
would
He leans
love- I
over,
would love to hear his
plants on her
perspective.
cheek, and then kind of like moves his head back.
'Cause I don't
and
think
forth
he's
like
wrong. I don't think he's wrong for doing it. I do think it's weird, but it's gonna be weird no matter what he does.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I do think like as long as there's no tongue involved, I think it's all okay. I think it's as soon as you.
I
as soon
thought
as
there
you-
was by
as
the
soon
way
as
he
you
was
do-
moving his head.
It's possible.
Well, as soon
What
as
if
you're
he just,
tonguing a
like-
corpse, it crosses the line.
What if he
But
carefully positioned her and just like licked her forehead?
that would be a different movie. I think.
Good night, my sweet.
License to eat.
All right. What other villains do we have? Dr. Kaufman. We've said enough.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say about Richard Stamper, played by Goss
The chakra
Otto.
torture thing.
He's
is
like the
interesting.
real villain of the. He's the brute force of the
Right.
movie.
He's
I
almost
think
my height too, so he's like legit tall.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So this script was rewritten several times, and
As per usual.
and
Yeah.
the novelization, because of that, has way more character detail, and there are character details and plot lines that got dropped and also not focused on. Originally, this guy was going to have some kind of disorder where psychologically pain registered as pleasure for him, which they kind of picked up later in a different way.
Yeah.
And
And they
then-
sort of did almost with what's her face in the last movie.
Yeah, Xenia.
Right. And they also gave this guy contacts to make it look like he had two different colored eyes, and you don't even you could watch
There's
the whole
only
movie
one
several
shot where
times
you
and
can
never see it.
yeah.
And they did that on very purposefully. That's him putting that contact in every day he's on set. And then they kind of dropped that, and then they have this whole plot line where he is trained by Kaufman in this chakra torture, but also another plot line they dropped was him being really into snuff films, and what he did in his spare time was make snuff films, basically. Like he'd go find women and make
Which is a bizarre
rape,
subplot
kill
to
porn.
just randomly
Yeah.
Right.
throw into
That's
a
very.
movie. Very dark. Just
Dark.
dark.
super dark. But this character was a nasty villain.
Yeah, he was. He also, anytime you have a giant blonde Bond villain now, I just feel like you just took like the central casting generic way out. Like it doesn't matter how good they are. I'm just like, we've seen this before.
But again, he is perfect for it.
Yeah, he is. He's custom made. That's why he should have been in like a Bond movie spoof or something. Because we just be more creative. Try harder.
Were you able to spot Gerard Butler in this movie?
I was very briefly, yeah.
I had
missed
no
it.
idea he was in this, and I spotted him watching it last night, and I was like, that had to be Gerard Butler. And I
Yeah.
rewound it, and I looked, and I paused it. Because the shot on his face, there's like a little bit of like haze. There's some smoke or whatever, and so it's hard to kind of see his face, but the credits reassured me that
Yeah.
was him. And his
I-
Scottish brogue.
I missed it.
So thick.
But I did think another guy was Simon Pegg, but it wasn't Simon Pegg.
We also have, if we're going through the henchmen, we also have
Gupta.
Henry Gupta, who is played by Ricky Jay. He's one of the greatest sleight of hand magicians ever. He's a master card thrower. He is a scholar of con artistry and also a great comedic performer.
Is he in Boogie Nights?
Yes, he is. He's in Boogie Nights. He's a David Mamet regular, so he's in a lot of Mamet films. He's in Boogie Nights. The character was written for an Indian actor,
Yeah.
and then they cast him instead. And
One of the rewrites, the character was an expert card thrower, and they had a scene with him throwing cards, and then they dropped it because
Yeah, he
they
had-
were like, you might actually hurt him
Yeah, he had
by
a
cutting him slightly or something.
He had for a long time he had the record for throwing a card the farthest.
Yeah.
And as part of his stage show, he would throw a bunch of cards into a watermelon. But for some reason they cast an American actor. They say he's an American who practically invented techno-terrorism
Which is not
when they introduced
a
him.
term anymore.
And for some reason they left the name Henry Gupta. It's just a strange.
That bothered me too.
Yeah, like what if you're gonna.
I never realized that his name was Henry Gupta. I thought it was just Gupta.
Well,
or
they
Dr.
only refer
Gupta
to him
or
as
whatever.
Gupta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought there was some explanation out there that was better than them sloppily rewriting his character, but
I mean, if you're going to rewrite, all I'm saying is if you're going to change the casting, I don't know.
I just
they
kept
changed the
thinking-
names
Changed
of
the name.
the original name of Carver and Paris Carver were both different names in the original script.
I just kept thinking, why wouldn't they change this guy's name? Why are they making? And they say Gupta 400 times
a
in the
lot.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just cast an Indian actor or not have his name be that?
Why couldn't his name be Gupta?
it just-
maybe an Indian guy immigrated to the United States 4
Maybe
generations
his
ago.
stepfather was an Indian guy and married his mother and took really good care of him when his own father walked out. And
Also,
so he was
that's-
like, you know what? I'm just going to take that name to honor him.
Hold on. Side note: I got Gerard Butler's one line in this movie, so here we go.
switched alternate supply.
3 generators are down, sir. Flooding on 4-deck aft.
So we're now down 14 degrees by the stern.
Degrees.
She can't take much more of this, Captain.
Degrees.
I'm not even going to get the Star Trek thing going. Cause
Yeah, of course
I
not.
know that'll just
The
end up-
crystals.
There's also a couple of guys that are crewmen on the different ships that are from Downton Abbey, who are like the two of the main actors in Downton Abbey, which is only interesting because Julian Fellowes, who wrote and created Downton Abbey as well as Gosford Park, actually plays the British defense minister in this as an actor, which is kind of a weird bit of trivia. I didn't even know he was an actor until I was looking in the credits and I was like, Julian Fellowes.
Like
Very
he made friends with all the character actors in this movie. It was
Hey,
like, let's make a
hey,
show.
Someday, many years from now, we'll make a television show.
Maybe it was darker than that. Maybe it's like, you owe me.
He got dirt on all of them.
You're coming back to Downton Abbey with me.
Or I'm publishing the pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it for the villains, right?
Except for
Elliot Carver.
the main villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other,
So Colin,
The
tell
other-
me why
the
you
other
love
plot-
Elliot Carver so much. I'm just waiting to hear.
because he's Rupert Murdoch, Steve Jobs, generic Bond villain,
So what I want to know is like,
and he's overacting hard.
yeah, hard and cheesy. Like his first scene, he's like
You tell
Delicious.
me. You tell. Okay, you agree that that's what the character is, right?
I agree. Yes.
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 Now imagine telling me that there's a character like that in a movie, and I'm not into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the competition for the most over-the-top Bond villain is pretty fierce, but Elliot Carver is definitely in pole position. He is front and center.
It's great.
he has no shame in being a super villain and like makes
Yeah.
it clear to everyone that he is up to no
Like
good.
he has like a semi-legitimate publishing empire, and all he wants to talk to about all his people is like, "Oh, delightful, an earthquake! Oh, wonderful! Were people murdered?"
Oh yeah.
There's no news like bad news.
He says delicious at least 3 times.
Yeah.
3 times, yeah.
That's like his
Yep.
his catchphrase
go-to
for
phrase.
describing stuff that happens.
And he does, and he,
delicious.
and he holds his pinky up like he's drinking tea when he says it sometimes.
yeah, delicious.
But my question is like, all the people who work for him, do they know that they work for an evil man? Like this is
Those are good ass TV jobs.
The answer to that question is clearly yes, and I'll give you evidence. First of all, he has all his lieutenants from around the globe are all meeting and they're teleconferencing in, which is pretty sophisticated technology. Then they're teleconferencing in to tell him about the state of affairs, and all they're telling him about is about these disastrous things that are happening, and he couldn't be more pleased. They clearly know that this guy is not of his right mind. But the more important point, and first of all, he's got like thuggish gangster bodyguards flanking him at all times with like machine guns, like openly. But also, when Bond breaks into the printing press of the Tomorrow newspaper,
they all have guns.
they all have guns. But when he's escaping from all the guys with guns, there's like the normal goon guys that are all dressed in black. He is at one point tackled by a dude who looks like he's a security guard. He's like wearing a brown security guard uniform, who just like is like building security, like the kind of guy who would check your ID when you were coming in. And this guy wants to kill him. And Bond fights him off and murders him. Then he's immediately jumped by another guy in a red blazer who looks like he's like the beat reporter for the sports desk or something like that, who also tries to kill Bond before Bond throws him into the printing press to his death with all the blood splattering.
And then he says,
Oh yeah, they'll print anything these days.
Classic. And then as Bond is leaving, this is after he's murdered 2 guys who, as far as I know, should not be in on the scheme and should not be trying to randomly kill dudes that they find in their workplace. But he's killed these 2 guys, and then as he's leaving, he still has to dive out of the way of a forklift driver who just saw him and was like, "Intruder! I'm gonna kill him." Yeah. This guy literally delivers newspapers for a living. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna murder this guy. My boss pays me well, and that's why you're gonna die."
look, we're going to pay you $7 an hour to drive this forklift and like move these papers around. But let me tell you one thing. If you ever see an intruder, you have to kill them.
Oh my God, I just realized what this is.
Murder them.
This is Jonathan Pryce's character is just a slightly less believable Hank Scorpio from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, Homer, if you want to kill anybody on your way out, that would really help me out a lot.
That
Thanks."
really helped me out a lot.
There are a couple of great lines in this movie that are like, to me, classic tropes of like shitty writing. Like at one point, Gupta says to him like, "I hacked the mainframe," and got like hack the mainframe to me is like my go-to if I'm like making fun of like a nerdy computer person from a movie. Hack the mainframe. And then there was something else too that Carver says at the end. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
It's very and it's not. I don't blame Jonathan Pryce. He's a very good actor. He was great in Brazil and Glengarry Glen Ross and Ronin, which we constantly mention with featuring
Jean Reno.
featuring Dinosaur Hunter.
I'm back. You thought I was dead.
Shit, he's in that.
And of course, he's the High Sparrow of Game of Thrones. He's a good actor. I don't know what his direction here was, but I think it's similar to like
Over the top.
I think it's similar to Famke Janssen's direction for the sex scene in GoldenEye. It's like there's nothing we will cut here. Be as stupid as you want.
There's nothing you can do that will make us say cut.
You can't. Yeah, you can't do wrong.
I love it.
man.
I love what he's doing. He was great in The Wife. He was great in Game of Thrones. He's great.
He's got it.
He's got it. Solid villain.
But
Yeah,
you
in
know
all
what's missing though?
seriousness,
They
terrible
should have had a
villain.
character. Shut up. They should have had a character that was like one of the talking head, like his main talking head on the network, like a Tucker
Like a Sean
Carlson.
Hannity. Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. Who's also like behind the scenes, just like an
That's-
ass kissing henchman.
If they did it nowadays, they would have had one last
exactly.
scene where Tucker Carlson comes out and tries to kill Bond.
yeah,
They easily had the opportunity to set up like a larger organization too. Like one of those talking heads could have been
Yeah.
someone telling him what to do, like someone who you don't see their face maybe or whatever. To like they've done that in the past with like Blofeld or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think they're over that. They just at this point they just want a new megalomaniac in every.
Well, I think he was one of the ones that was having a hard time with all the rewrites. I
Yeah.
think
they kept
because
changing his character.
yeah, his
so much.
character originally became a media baron when he was the illegitimate son of another media baron, and then blackmailed and tortured him and took over his empire, and then became, which is really interesting.
What I think is kind of, I'm sort of torn on what. Can somebody explain to me exactly? Because I feel like I might have missed something. But what is his like end game here? What is his scheme? He wants to start this war with China. Is it all just so he can capture the Chinese market?
Yeah, because China has state news service, anyways, like
Yeah,
literal state news
And,
service.
and they say at the beginning that he owns, a majority of every media market in the world except for China.
yeah.
And that is so he's like going to start a war between these countries and kill thousands, if not millions, of people.
Well, he has a
Just
deal.
so he can have
has a
some-
deal with a high up Chinese general, and he's going to kill all the other Chinese general in the missile strike with his missile, and then he will control the leader of China at that point. And the deal is he gets exclusive broadcast rights, and he has control over
But
that
I think
guy.
his larger scheme and the thing that gets him off is that he'll have so much power that he could essentially create the news. He could do whatever he wants.
Right.
I mean, he's
Destroy
already,
whatever
already doing
nation.
that.
Yeah, but like that's his thing.
Exactly. Not to me.
I
Not to
guess-
me.
Yeah.
I like that scene. Terry Hatcher's like, these things do happen. Not to
can't
me.
tell if that's-
not to me.
I can't tell if that's dumber or less dumb nowadays than it was at the time. Because on the one hand, it's a dumb idea that somebody would like do all these destructive, terrible things just to increase their media empire. On the other hand, people do a lot of terrible, destructive things to increase a media empire. It just seems like there's more powerful positions in the world. Although now I guess you could argue maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I would say
really
I
torn.
would say with like what we've seen happen in the course of history after this shows us that what they should have focused on was that the sort of reciprocal nature of power versus media power.
Right.
Like the more he has control, I think there's a really funny thing. One of the heads when he's doing the conference room meeting is like, "Oh, we're gonna get this guy to do this, or otherwise we'll show the tape of him with the girl in Chicago or whatever." And then he's like,
Show the tape anyway.
"Yeah," and then he's like, "Make him do it," and then release the tape anyways.
Which is sort of it's to demonstrate how evil he really is.
Right,
But
but-
at the same time, in real life, it would be like you would definitely never show that tape because you would want to prop this guy up as much as possible because you'd have this symbiotic
Because you
relationship
have
with
the leverage, right?
exactly.
So I think that's what we know now is that the more control over the media, the more you can get leverage over a lot of people and influence over a lot of people.
Right.
And that's something because this movie was rewritten too many times, and it's a great basis for a character, a great pitch for a movie. It didn't finish well because they were pushing it to come out sooner.
And also, I think in general, it's just it would be a great thing for like a more satirical movie maybe, or something that was like more like a techno thriller. But in a Bond movie, you need this guy to be a murderous
maniac.
lunatic.
Yeah.
In addition to a megalomaniac, whatever, and it just sort of doesn't figure. Like a media baron is also not the same.
I like it though.
So he's a media baron, but his newspaper Tomorrow is brand new, right? It's like just launching.
I think he's still in the stages of, because this is like around the time where Fox News became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he really is supposed to be. I remember at the time it came out, I was like, I remember talking to someone and being like, I think this idea for this character is really genius, like a media baron or whatever. And they literally were just like, it's just Rupert Murdoch.
But it actually wasn't. They said it was a different.
I know
they said
it's
it was,
not, but
well, no, but they said it was based on a different actual British media baron,
A more corrupt.
I
Right,
can't
but
remember his
but
name.
this had to do with my naivete and my I didn't realize
That these people actually exist and do these.
yeah,
things.
and how much this character, especially with the other stuff that's clearly Steve Jobs, the
Well, yeah.
the
Well, it's- and
costuming. And the way he's doing like a launch for his satellites and
Yeah.
stuff in a very Steve
And how
Jobs
his face
way.
is like on every
Yeah,
poster.
right,
like,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah. Right. Like he's. I thought this character was really original at the time, and it's not that original.
Well, none of that is that new because I mean, he says in the movie that William Randolph Hearst did the exact same
Exactly.
thing. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah. He's a
Yeah,
Hearst.
and now
how
we've
it's-
seen this
He's
sort
a
of
Hearst
thing so
character.
many times.
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, like I didn't get it at first. So it's kind of hard for me to evaluate it that way because I still like the character. I still think it's such a great idea. I read also that the pitch of the movie was literally just one of his lines. It's like we control was something of the new bullets or the new guns or the new weapons or whatever. It's
It was
like
his speech in the
satellites are the
beginning.
new weapons or man.
Something about something is the new something. Anthony Hopkins was originally supposed to play this character. He was actually also offered the role of Trevelyan in Goldeneye when it was going to be an older mentor. He turned down this role too to appear in Mask of Zorro, directed by Goldeneye director Martin Campbell, who, and if you haven't seen that movie, that is also an excellent film. I really like The Mask of Zorro a lot better than this.
Cool. Let's talk about the girls. We talked about Paris Carver a little bit already.
But we haven't talked about for me, the highlight of this movie. I thought Michelle Yeoh was great as Wai Lin.
She's so good.
Yeah.
She does so much. She does all her own stunts.
They're playing her kind of like she is China's version of James Bond, but in
Right.
female form.
Yeah, which gives part of the story a very Spy Who Loved Me kind of vibe, which I liked.
They keep running into each other everywhere, and she's always like...
They have to work together because their goal is the same, but they have to build trust because they're, would usually be enemies.
I love the scene where he's breaking out of the office after he breaks in, and he keeps on seeing her sneaking around like stealthily while he's getting shot at everywhere, and she's like just slightly more stealthy, slightly more skilled, and everything like that.
Everyone's shooting machine guns, and she's like slowly walking down the wall.
Right.
Yeah, which they use that again with Halle Berry.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
See, I forget that movie.
But she's a Malaysian actress.
Yeah.
I didn't know she wasn't Chinese. I guess she's Chinese Malaysian.
She's huge.
but,
She's like a
you know.
mega star over
Yeah,
there, right?
yeah, oh yeah. And, well, she had broke out a few years before this. Basically, she was becoming the female Jackie Chan. She was a model and an actress, and
She's in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, right? That was
later
like
on,
her
yeah.
big...
That was later on. That was sort of like her swan song, her big.
Because that was from 99, right?
Yes, no,
Oh,
yeah,
one or-
yeah, something like that.
2000
yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
somewhere around there. And she was just in Crazy Rich Asians recently.
Oh, she's in that?
But she was.
She's great in that movie, too.
One of her first.
Did she do like stunts in it?
No,
No.
it's not that kind of movie.
Damn it.
But she's also a good actress. So that's I think she broke out as sort of an action star. But one of her big breakout roles was in Police Story 3: Super Cop, and I remember when that came out, and people were like, "Oh, you got to see this woman. She's amazing. She's like a female Jackie Chan." And everyone said, "Who's Jackie Chan?" And everyone looked at him and said, "You got
I
to see
know.
Rumble in the Bronx.
I
It
know
just came
Jackie
out."
Chan.
Yeah, everyone knows who Jackie Chan is.
Me and Chris both want to see a recut of Crazy Rich Asians where there's an
More
action
fight
movie.
scenes.
Yeah, that's an action movie. It doesn't have to be fight scenes per se, but at least an explosion.
I mean, the title would be fitting. They're crazy.
Not crazy enough. This summer.
My favorite fact about Michelle Yeoh, she married a Hong Kong entrepreneur named Dixon Poon.
No.
Dixon Poon. Is that
Poon.
that's even too much of an innuendo for a Bond movie? His name's Dixon Poon.
My name's Dixon Poon, Mr. Bond.
Oh yeah, that was
Dixon Poon.
Poon. Dixon Poon.
that was the other thing I forgot about the Carver character
This is my sister, Fingers. Fingers and Poon.
Yeah, another one of the original scripts for Carver was his plan wasn't to attack China. It was like similar to the plot of Rush Hour, where it has to do with Hong Kong leaving
Right.
British control and going back to China control, and it's something like he doesn't want that to happen, or he wants to control it, and he ends up basically he's going to destroy Hong Kong or something like that, that would have added a little more explanation to his straight up madness.
Would have made it dated pretty quickly.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
would've
Well,
made
that's
it
why they didn't
relevant
do
then,
it,
but
because they're
dated immediately.
whoever their script expert was like, this, if depending on how this goes, this movie won't work if anything happens with that transition, or if nothing happens with that transition, because it won't mean anything in a couple of years.
Should we move on to talk a little bit about the various sidekicks? We've got Dame Judy Dench back, as well as
Yeah,
Samantha
let's just
Bond
briefly
and
touch
everyone.
on
So good
them and
as
then
always.
move on to the action sequences, I think, right? There's a lot of
Sure.
good action. But yeah, Dame Judy Dench is back. She's great again. I think she had better lines in GoldenEye.
Oh yeah,
I love the no balls line in this one, though.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't have the balls for it. It's like, well, I have the privilege of not thinking with them.
It's like, that's enough. The other guy's like, carry on.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly like that. You don't even have to watch it now.
We also have Samantha Bond back as Moneypenny. I thought Cunning Linguist was kind of a groaner, but I did like the don't ask, don't tell exchange that she has with them.
That was pretty nice.
That was good.
And the surprise Q appearance as an Avis spokesperson. And,
The whole Avis thing is hilarious, just because when he wrecks the car, he wrecks it back into an Avis brick and mortar store.
Yeah. The remote control BMW is the only thing and the only scene before I watched this again. That was the only thing I remembered from this movie, from the original watching it way back when, was him remote control driving the car around.
How great is it that Q demonstrates it, and it seems to be the hardest thing to use ever, and then he immediately picks it up and he's just like doing donuts.
But also, Q is like 1,000 years old at this point, and it's
But-
it's like your grandma with her first cell phone. It's just like.
But even in the close-up, it looks like it's very difficult to actually drive it, like with a little. It's just a pad, and it's like a mouse pad, basically.
Oh, I don't know how it like logistically works. It seems like you need a video game
Like,
controller.
imagine driving a car with a mouse pad
I would
that's
probably not
smaller
be
than a
good at
mouse
it, yeah.
pad.
It'd be funny if it was a Nintendo 64 controller.
Yeah, a tie-in.
Just
No one
pops
knows how
out
to
of the phone
use this
somehow.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, who else? We got Jack Wade is back.
Oh, he's so good. I love his costume when they're in the airplane for the Halo jump.
Oh,
that hat he's wearing. And there's a little line when he first sees him again about like Bond not liking the way he's dressed, and you get this one little quick moment where Brosnan like looks over at like what he looks like in disgust. And he doesn't care. He's just like loving it. He's like, I'm here with James Bond, the best secret agent ever.
I mentioned to Harris before we started recording the show, but did you happen to notice the costumes that the waiters and waitresses were wearing at the party scene? They were wearing suits that look like newspaper. There was like all newspaper
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
articles and stuff. Yeah, I thought for sure. I was like, oh, Colin's going to bring this up at the show. And then I asked him, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I should have noticed that. And immediately, again, everyone in his employ must know he's straight up evil. Right? Like, we're doing an event where waiters, we have to wear this.
He'll kill us if we don't.
That's how they realize that they work for an evil.
But also, if anyone tries to leave, he says we can murder them, and he'll like let us get away with it.
Yeah. And if you don't tip well enough, I mean, there are consequences.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of the action sequences. This movie had a lot of good stunts. There's the motorcycle scene.
The motorcycle chase scene was the highlight of the movie for me. That was the one action sequence that was great. It's
my question is, can a
really
helicopter really turn
No,
in
of
such a
course
way and maintain that for that long?
Probably not.
no.
I
It's
think
absurd.
when you make a helicopter do that, it makes it go forward.
Right.
Yeah, but it also makes a decrease in altitude, which
Yeah,
eventually will
touch the
make
ground.
it crash.
Yeah, one
and
or the
everyone
other
will
is
die.
going to happen. If you tilt a helicopter like that, it's going to go forward and a little bit down or straight down.
Yeah, I like the gag of them being handcuffed though, and how she had to sort of like climb around.
Straddle him.
Yeah, and like also just like the idea that they couldn't. The way they were handcuffed, they had to sort of steer the bike together.
That
or
would be
she
so
had to-
hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially because she's working the clutch while he's changing gears. Oh my God, it would be impossible.
Yeah.
But it was a really good bike chase.
It was clever. Yeah, cleverly
The jump
done.
over the helicopter made no freaking sense, but it did look cool.
Yeah, like why couldn't they just go the other way? Like where the
and why would the
was?
helicopter just decide to
Lower itself.
there,
down
yeah.
to the street level for some reason so they could jump over it? And then they jump through a building and you get a nice gratuitous sex scene. You got a little nip there. I don't know if you caught it, but there was some nip there.
Really?
Shower scene?
No, when they crash the motorcycle into the,
Oh,
into
yeah.
the bedroom,
Oh,
you do see a little nip as they're leaving.
I'm not sure
I
that's.
think I
there's
missed
very
that.
much
I might
nip
have to
there.
go back and
Oh
check
no,
that
you
out.
both definitely missed it. I think you might
I
get.
mean, I saw the woman.
I think you might get double nip.
She's
there.
in like a mosquito net. Mosquito.
Not at the end of the scene.
Mosquito nip.
No, she got a close up at the end of the scene, or medium shot, I should say. I should say it's two T's.
Maybe this is a different
It's-
woman.
No, it's definitely that
The
scene
mosquito
where
net
he goes.
woman?
Yeah, the mosquito net woman. And when they're
just, like,
driving out,
She gets up
she
and then
sits
she
up
just
in the
starts
frame.
going again.
Yes,
there's
exactly.
There's some pretty provocative scenes in the beginning with the Danish woman when he's like reaching around her and hugging her,
Yes.
like the sheet almost
He's
like
giving her
comes up.
like he's giving her that little like shoulder nibble.
Yeah, but you see, like it gets pretty close.
Yeah,
Ending of the helicopter thing is super dumb too.
it looks pretty cool.
It does look cool.
And the way they destroy the helicopter kind of didn't make sense
Yeah,
to
they
me.
sort of just
also.
throw
A hook.
A hook. First of all, they go into a controlled skid under the blades of the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then they get around behind it and throw a hook over the tail. And then it explodes. And luckily, they jump into a well. And what I learned from James Bond, from this movie in particular, is
If you're
as long as you're underwater, it only needs to be an inch of water. But as long as you're underwater, you're pretty much immune to everything: explosions, buildings collapsing, boats blowing up, helicopter crashes.
The shrapnel, the heat.
Just cover yourself
that
in,
won't
in,
go
in the
through.
thinnest coating of water, and you're pretty much invincible.
Yeah.
You can't
So-
argue with science.
Yeah, no, this is
Pretty
real,
much.
real solid science.
The drill attack in the beginning, we kind of glossed over that. Did we mention the drill?
Can we just say how stupid this drill is? Can we all just agree on the stupidity of the drill?
It's very silly looking now. to me.
It looks like a tremor almost.
Yeah,
like,
it looks like
like a
It's
robo,
a Norelco.
like a robo tremor.
or like the big drills that they use in Total Recall to burrow
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
Mars city. Except it's a torpedo.
Screw you!
Benny.
I got 5 kids to feed.
But it's also a torpedo that they launch into a ship, and then once it hits the ship, it burrows into the ship and continues to propel itself around.
Scientifically, that does not
But
make
yeah,
sense.
but
Yeah.
what is the momentum behind
That's-
this? It's got
how
to
could
keep
it go
on
up
pushing.
and-
yeah,
yeah.
even if it just hits the front of the
Yeah,
ship,
and-
it needs some constant pressure on the back to drill into something.
Yeah, and each time it goes into a room, the room has to fill with water before it can start maneuvering as a torpedo, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Like if you turned a hand drill on and pressed it up against the wall and left it there, it wouldn't just like dig into the wall and start going.
Yeah, it would have to be going so fast that it would go through the side of the ship anyways.
And then
right?
the drill isn't going to be as helpful as like something that's more aerodynamic that would actually cut
like
through
a point.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a point, like an actual torpedo has.
And, like-
explosives. You know,
Yeah.
like hey, what was wrong with torpedoes?
Then you're telling me that they're able to retract it back out of the path that it created within the submarine, that it's sinking.
while holding a missile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's insane. Also,
And how does it hold the missile? Does it have a claw machine on the bottom of it?
and more importantly, well, I think maybe what we're getting at is I think this is something that a production designer came up with, and everyone was like, "Oh, that looks so cool."
I
And-
do love the production design in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's
Yes.
fantastic. I think it's really good. I think it's the kind of stuff we haven't seen since the 60s and 70s.
Right.
With
I mean, GoldenEye I thought was a step in the right direction too. I feel like it's coming
this
coming
one.
back around.
This one has much better sets though. Because the stealth boat, the interiors are all a set.
Yeah.
That it's
That's
amazing.
true.
To me, the stealth boat from the outside looks very small, and then he pulls up like on the boat.
It's because
at
it's
the
a
end.
model.
Right, but then no, I mean like you see him enter it,
Yeah.
and like the ratio of man to shape of the boat is like 1 to 10 or something, and then they go inside, and it's like massive.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there more underwater or something?
That we don't
because
see,
they have
right?
like it's a tanker or something, and we're only seeing this one little. Like it seems like it must be a submersible or something.
It's called great set design.
Yeah, it's
Makes
something.
no
It's-
sense.
Yeah, it doesn't fly for me.
It was in the right shape though.
This all goes back to my my underlying complaint of like, just give me enough that I can suspend my disbelief. That I'm don't slap me in the face with how absurd this all is. Just
Like, I'll
every
buy
once in
it.
a
Just
while.
give me a reason to.
yeah, or like his BMW thing. They got all these guys that are trying to break into his BMW, but he's got it on like alarm, full security mode where it's impenetrable to crowbars and bullets and
Sledgehammers.
whatever. But then as soon as he starts driving it, for some reason they shoot out the windows immediately.
Bullet
I'm like,
holes.
they can shoot out the windows now. And then at the end of that scene, he
Probably,
remote-
it's probably an electromagnetic seal.
oh, that's it. Oh, that's it. There you go.
Why did they have me like as scripty on this thing?
No, what they need you to do is be press on this thing where it's like, hey, here's why all the things you think are stupid are actually scientifically fairly plausible.
Exactly. They got really thick water in the South China Sea. It protects from explosions.
Did you guys like the remote control driving scene? I
Yeah.
felt like it for me it dragged a little bit, and it ended in a dumb. Like almost every scene ends in a dumb way, but this one.
I think it's the best action sequence. Maybe the cold open is better, but I think
Yeah,
it's the
no,
best
I
action
remember
sequence
liking
in the
it,
movie.
like, digging
well, the
the-
motorcycle's good.
I like him in the
like the
back seat, like
motorcycle.
laughing as he's doing stuff.
That was kind of funny. But it seemed like they hit the same beats over and like he's just driving around this parking garage over and over again. And then at one point,
It just seemed
It's
huge.
a little long.
yeah. And at one point, he's got they set up this tow line across the path of the BMW that they're going to snag the BMW with. And the BMW, the hood ornament or something, pops up, and it's a tiny buzzsaw that pops up at the exact height of this line and saws through it. It's like,
That
what?
was stupid.
That is so stupid. Why
But you get a
include
close up of the BMW logo that way.
Why do you include? Oh, see, I was going to ask why do you include something that's stupid in it, but I think Colin, I think you might have hit on it.
pretty
And then
sure that's
it
it.
ends with him intentionally driving his remote-controlled BMW off the roof of a parking garage and bombing it down into a crowded pedestrian street
Into
into
an
a
Avis.
storefront, into an Avis storefront.
But you
It's
also
like-
get the Avis name really
it's like,
big.
what the fuck, Bond? Just because you have a license to kill doesn't mean like you should just be killing people.
I thought for
He's
sure that
returning it.
cable
He's
was
returning
gonna
his rental.
chop the top of the car off, and then it turns into a convertible, and he pops up and just
Right.
drives
And
off.
it's-
That would have been
would've
so much
better.
better.
That would have been better. Yeah.
Nah,
That
the
stupid
folks
thing.
at BMW don't think so.
The folks from BMW.
There's a few people at
That car
Bavarian
sucked
Motorworks
too.
who
Like the
have
car
something
didn't
to
even
say
like look like a cool Bond car. It just looked like a 19.
It's a 7 Series. It's like the
87.
full-on 4-door. It's the only time he
It's a
drives a
sedan,
4-door.
yeah.
But it doesn't look like a Miata, which I felt like was a step
that's
in the
true.
right direction.
I like it. I just like that he's like technologically coming up to like current technology. He has like this remote control video game like cell phone that makes the car go. Like that's what I mean. For us now, it doesn't work so much. But like I said, I love this movie when I was younger, and for a younger audience who's like experiencing those kind of technologies for the first time, it's like that's so cool.
I guess it matters. I guess
The
what-
self-inflating tires. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I guess it matters what audience they're trying to appeal to. If they are trying to appeal to a younger audience, this makes sense. But I
And
don't
the
know.
time period.
Yeah,
I think because now it seems like a smartphone could easily do that. You know, like it's not as impressive.
yeah.
So let's get to the ending. So how does it end? They get captured, right?
So when they find they get the CIA to help them find the ship, and then they get captured, and then they get away with the motorcycle chase, and then they attack the stealth boat because they have to get the missile to not fire.
I feel like we went way far back there. What do we?
He said they got captured. I was
and you
reviewing
jumped
when
all the
they
way
got
back to the Halo jump.
Because that's when they get captured.
I think he means when
When they're on the
get
boat,
onto
they
the
get
boat to set
captured.
the mines. 'Cause-
One of the girl gets captured, which they could have easily killed her. It was just stupid as hell. But
and also he's yelling to Warner, and he's like, "My Lynn, Stamper, look out!" But that Stamper hasn't even come out yet, and it's like, I don't know. I'm just.
Is that before or after Carver makes fun of her by going, "Hiya! Oh yeah!"
That is before Jonathan Pryce does a very racist kung fu dance.
Which then they escape by her going, "Hiya!" and like kicking
Yeah.
a table into someone.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the other thing why they probably should just have killed her immediately, because every time they captured her like 3 times now, and every time it's not even like she has to come up with something clever to escape. She just kicks a bunch of people and runs away. You know,
But she's really good at it, though.
Yeah, she is very good at it. So Bond, so she gets captured. Bond breaks into the sub to rescue her, and kills a henchman with a knife, and then lets Stamper shoot the guy's body, and throws it
thinking
into the
that
water,
he's
thinking
dead.
that he's dead. And then he just runs rampant through the boat, killing henchmen.
Yeah.
And then eventually
they grab the girl.
He takes Gupta hostage,
Right.
and Carver has the girl hostage.
And
And
they
they're
have
at
a showdown.
either end of this long thing, and Gupta says, "Hey, the missiles are all set to launch." And Carver's like, "Well, what the fuck do I need you for?" And shoots him with his gun all the way across. Like, that's a tough shot to make with a pistol from that distance. Shoots him right in the heart.
Maybe he was trained by Dr. Kaufman.
He must be. He's an excellent marksman. He could hit you from Stuttgart.
Could make it look like a suicide from Stuttgart.
But then at that time, Bond blows up a bunch of grenades that he set, and Waylon, kicks a bunch of people in the
I think
face.
it's Waylon Jennings.
And I'm going to call her Waylon.
Waylon Smithers.
She kicks a bunch of people in the face. She runs away. She is at one point dual-wielding machine guns while she jumps over a railing and John Woo style shoots.
There's a lot of machine
Shit.
gunning in
There's
this
a lot of
movie.
slow motion jumping over machine gunning.
It is really impressive that she does all her own stunts, and you can tell that she does all her own stunts.
In fact, in the scene where she had to kick all the people's asses in her like hideout there, the stuntmen were afraid to work with her because
She kicks too hard.
because she actually kicks people and hits people, because that's how like the Jackie Chan style Hong Kong stunt crews actually make contact, which is how it looks so real.
Wow.
And these stuntmen were tired of getting punched in the face, so they actually had to call Jackie Chan's stunt crew. So all the guys who attack her in that scene were all like Hong Kong stuntmen who are used to getting kicked and punched.
Yeah. But he has there's a Chinese copy of the watch that he usually has, and he uses that to explode the thing on the ship to cause chaos so that they can both get out of the little standoff situation. But then he kills Carver with a great one-liner.
Yeah, that's a good one.
With the drill, he basically just pushes the drill into him, which is kind of stupid. But
Holds him as the drill slowly approaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he could. You notice like he just like stands there and screams, but he could have just stepped out of the way of the drill. It's a very Quarrel moment.
Quarrel.
But
They're
Bond's-
like, the fans will know this is a Quarrel moment.
yeah. But Bond's last line is, "You forgot the first rule of mass media: give the people what they want," and then he kills them. But then
Which is like a call out. It's like breaking the fourth wall because he's saying like, give these people what they want.
right, yeah. But he doesn't look at the camera, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It looks fake as hell though. That drill.
It's
is
the
not
drill
good.
though.
Yeah.
The Norelco is dumb as hell.
That's what it looks like. It looks like the face razor.
Yeah.
But then he has to destroy the missile, so he has a showdown with Stamper on the missile, and that fight scene's really good. But then there's a part where the missile falls down and it traps Stamper's foot, and then he goes, 9. It's just really good. It's like it's a little silly, but I'm not sure why it's so silly, but like because it's Stamper is like this ridiculous character. He's like just a huge German guy. But that
when the
fight's
missile
really
launches,
good.
it actually blows itself up because Bond has sabotaged it with some detonators.
Yeah, but Stamper tries to hold them both on the explosion because Stamper's stuck. But then Bond takes the knife that he stabs Stamper with out of Stamper and then cuts his vest off. So
And
that
where
he can
did he
fall in
cut
the
on his
water.
vest to like he wasn't like sawing through it?
With the fabric part.
Yeah, yeah.
Colin's got the answer.
I know.
Meanwhile, what's her name is underwater. Waylon Jennings is
Waylon
underwater,
Jennings,
chained up, and Bond goes down and
Gives her a breath.
gives her the breath from his mouth in a
Yeah,
very
kissy.
romantic underwater kiss. That underwater shot was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then because they're both underwater by at least a foot, they are spared from this massive
course.
missile explosion that takes place directly over their heads.
Explodes the entire boat into pieces.
Blows the entire boat into like shrapnel and
Stamper's
flotsam.
incinerated.
It's like 100 foot boat.
There aren't even bodies
blown
left.
into like 4 foot pieces.
and they were somehow spared, and nothing even fell on them. That's how effectively safe this water was.
It's good water.
And then, and I guess they immediately know at MI6 that Bond has survived, but Carver's dead, even though nobody's made contact with them.
Yeah, they're still looking for Bond because they're having sex on some of the wreckage, or not having sex.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
making out, but because it's the wreckage is a little too rough for sex.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
no, they might have sex.
We don't know.
We don't know what it
They
leads
might.
to.
But yeah, they screwed it up there because the people at MI6 are like, oh, Bond's alive. It's like they should have had that scene. They could have just had that scene after.
I guess. I mean, but
then you don't get the very last scene being Bond
Right.
on top of Bond making out
in this on a floating junk pile in the South China Seas, refusing rescue just to get his
Rocks off.
rocks off. Yes. What if it sinks? What if the boat goes to look somewhere else and the entire? What if they fuck the thing to pieces?
It's like 1 a.m. It's like 1 a.m.
Yeah,
local time.
It seems a little risky just to fuck on top of wet garbage in the ocean. Like they should just get rescued and then get a hotel room. What is the problem? Like Motel 6 would be a step up from this.
Priorities.
Because they have to be
Podcast
debriefed.
is not going to be sponsored by Motel 6.
They have to be debriefed.
But
We already got
Avis,
Avis.
BMW, all the way.
Yeah.
Norelco.
Yeah.
And why the hell was Carver even on this boat? Like, why he should have been back at his
Yeah, he
headquarters
should have
running
been
his
behind
printing
the scenes,
press.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't very good at delegating everything.
His
I'm ready for a double.
performance, though.
I'm ready for a double.
So
Oscar.
yeah, what I was gonna say before is like, so he's launching this newspaper. Imagine if like there was a launch of a new newspaper, and then like 3 days later, the guy who runs it dies in like this, mass like.
He's launching a worldwide network.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, oh, just kidding, he's dead, not canceled. Like, or does someone else take over? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure he left somebody behind. Maybe that guy at the guy in one of those guys in the red jackets from the printing press place.
Yeah.
He's like next in line.
Yeah, the beat reporter. They pulled him out of the printing press.
The forklift driver.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they have that kind of commitment.
Yeah, the most dedicated employee. It's like a Willy Wonka thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's rate this thing. Who wants to go first? Colin, I think you should.
009.
Whoa.
Is that a real rating?
I mean, I wanna give it an 8 because I know it's not that good, but I just love it so much.
You want to give it an 8 because you know it's not that good. 8 is not that good. Oh my god.
It's just so fun.
So your scale just goes from like 8 to 10.
No, there's ones I don't like.
This is a piece of shit. 8.
Yeah. Oh, I hated it. Only a 7.
No, it's just I know it's not great, but I just really like this one
All right.
personally. I do think it's got the silliness that we like from some of the older silly ones. It's got like some of the fantasy elements. They fucked up the script by rewriting it a bunch of times while they were still producing it. But the idea for it's really good. Yeah, they should have had the internet in there for sure.
Well, would his plan be able to work with the internet?
I mean, it has in a lot of ways, and I feel like he's a like a real technocrat. So I think he would have been on the front lines of that innovation. In reality, I think he would have adopted the internet.
I think the audience is supposed to imply the internet into their viewing of it somehow.
I think Carver Media Group would have definitely adapted to the times.
Yeah. They own like evil Yahoo or something.
Yeah.
Like 1997 evil Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really like it a lot. I know it has so many problems, but there's so much stuff I like. It's one of the funnier ones. I love it when the jokes actually land. The action sequences are pretty good action. I really like the women. I love that like the Chinese woman is just like a badass and like good looking also. And Terry Hatcher, we've already said, great in everything. And it has all the. It also, I looked up, one of the other cast members is also named Colin.
So 2 Collins?
In
one movie?
The CIA
too many
analyst guy who
Collins.
like discovers where the Devonshire really sank by like looking at the guy who's like, does he have any U.S. markings on him? That guy, his real name, the actor who plays him, his real name is also Colin. So
Well, that's exciting.
What a
I
coincidence.
will give a 0010 to any Bond film that has Harris's in it. Just, I feel like that's
One
fair.
day.
Just put it out there.
One day, just letting the people know.
All right.
What else? Oh, License to Watch, of course, affirmed.
I too give this a license to watch. I think I had a lot of fun. I remember this movie, seeing it in the theater as a young person, being underwhelmed, but in rewatching it as an adult, I think I was more whelmed. No, I really enjoyed it. Excuse me, I am sick. It was a lot of fun. Really, the only thing, the only detractor for me is like the dialogue is a little ham-fisted and cheesy in a lot of parts. Mainly Carver's dialogue. A lot of the plot stuff, like we're talking about, like doesn't make sense if you really think about it. But putting that aside, I think it's really fun. The action scenes are great. The casting is great. The girls are good. The villains are good. The song is great. It's really got a lot going for it. I actually like the pacing of the movie. What was it, like 2 hours?
It was under 2 hours.
Yeah, under
It's
2
the
hours.
first-
One of the few.
Yeah.
One
It
of
doesn't
3 of them
drag.
that are under 2 hours.
It's just like
It's
constant
quick.
action for the most part. And then the whole end sequence, I love how it plays out, like the beats that they hit, and like I like the villains' deaths, like all of them. Everything kind of culminates, and even him saving her under the water, breathing into her mouth via kissing her is great. Yeah, it really worked for me. I would give it a 9, but because of the cheesiness in the beginning of the movie, I have to give it an 8, a 008.
Wow.
I was gonna give it like
feel
sub
like
5 easily.
I feel like we watch different movies. I mean, and the funny thing is, I liked so much about this movie. I think the song is great. I feel like the plot was not terrible. I feel like it was a bad choice of who the villain is and what his motivations are. A lot of the stunt sequences were great in a vacuum, but within the plot, they didn't make any sense. And a lot of times, they always ended with something preposterous that took me right out of it and just was like slapping me in the face. And I loved the actresses. Some of the these are two of the better Bond girls that we've ever seen in a movie. And Brosnan is a great Bond. He is so good. I think the real shame of his run on this is that they so rarely gave him great material to work with.
It's true. We didn't really talk about him that much. He's
stellar again. Yeah,
If we ever go anywhere and like Pierce Brosnan is there, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, it's the bras. I know it sounds lame here, but it'll be cool when it happens.
He'll think it's cool. Yeah, yeah. He probably doesn't get that often, so that might be. But no, I just can't get over. First of all, I feel like this has a Living Daylights problem where the bad guy just is too ridiculous and not very threatening and kind of, I don't know, I just couldn't buy him as a dangerous, serious villain. And I think one of the things that Colin always likes is the humor. But I feel like whenever it gets too, like there was some dialogue that it wasn't just bad dialogue. There was some that was just so full of unnecessary innuendo. Like not every line has to be an innuendo or a joke or something. Sometimes you can just have regular, like we saw in the last movie where we had some great scenes from Sean Bean and Judy Dench and Pierce Brosnan where they're actually talking about important shit and delivering great dialogue, and these are talented actors. Let them work. Not everything has to be like a hokey joke and a wink to the audience and a stupid explosion and a lame action gimmick. There was just so much that disappointed me about this movie, and it just felt a little thrown together. I do like that it was short, but that's all I could say for it. I was really kind of debating. I looked at the other stuff that I'd given lower marks to, and was just looking at like, well, it's not better than a lot of stuff that I gave 004s to at all. Ooh. It's not. It's. I wouldn't put it above some of the stuff that I gave 003s to. I knew it. And I was actually debating, and then I was actually feeling bad because I gave a 002 to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I was like, geez, I feel like On Her Majesty's Secret Service might be better than this, and that got a 002. And granted, this is not the worst Bond movie that we've seen so far, so I'm not going to go to a record low. But I was on the fence about giving it a 002 or a 003, and you guys both liking it this much just makes me think that I should definitely stick to my guns and give it a 002.
No!
It joins On Her Majesty's Secret Service as one of the low ones. And if we revisit the score, I might have to look at On Her Majesty's Secret Service before I look at this one. Sorry, guys. This is a license revoked for me.
I knew it.
Wow.
Before
I can't believe it.
Before Harris even got here, in my head, I was like, Harris probably hated this one. I know I liked it.
Hey, listen, I thought like Thunderball and some of the other ones were could be kind of torturous to sit through because they were like dull and sometimes long. And this didn't have that problem. But I feel like a lot of times my intelligence is being insulted, and I'm also seeing potential. Like they put so many great things together, and then they add them up, and it amounts to shit. And I'm just like, man, guys.
But only in these movies do you get that kind of shit.
Gold shit.
Yeah.
Solid gold shit.
You know?
I don't know. Yeah, there's something to be said about these movies, like A, insulting your intelligence, but B, like being okay with that and like accepting the fun of it, you know, and like the surface level garbage that it could be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's something enjoyable about these movies sometimes, despite them obviously being subpar to what you're used to.
What movie are we on now? What of this?
This is the
18
18th
or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like he's not gonna die, you know. Like
some of the drama's been
James
taken out
Bond
of it,
saves
yeah.
the day is the plot. So like we're not gonna change that, you know? So like we don't
So
have
the
to.
stakes are low.
Yeah, yeah.
And I appreciate that, but I think it's some of it's a matter of taste, and I think you guys have probably noticed I tend to like the grittier ones and not the funny ones as much, and the goofier they get. Like some of them, I mean, Diamonds Are Forever is a ridiculous movie, but I actually kind of enjoyed that. Like sometimes it's okay to be a little in that direction, but when it goes too far, and I felt like this one just was too far from it's sort of like how you guys both love Thunderball, and I can't. That's really
I'll
one of
say
my
in
least
defense
favorites.
of this movie, like with the line for me, The Division is like it's one thing to be funny and have like silly lines and stuff, but it's another thing to do that stuff and be cringy, you know? Like I feel like the lines, a lot of the things land in this movie, and the jokes and whatever. You're like, yeah, you eye roll and you laugh, haha, to yourself, but like they work for the you know, the way they're acted or the way they're written. I don't know.
Even when they're kind of stupid, it's like
like
it's kinda,
you still
it's
gotta
kind of stupid, but I'm not like it's not hurting me.
I'm laughing because it's funny. I'm not laughing because it's terrible. You know, like we had seen in some previous movies, like some real eye rolling stuff where we're like, oh my god.
And this one
just
has
doesn't
some of
work.
the other elements. You know, like the action and stunts. The DP was great. The set design was great.
I would by no means call this a classic, but it's still.
But you still gave it an 8.
It's a high medium. Yeah,
The
it's a high
girls are
medium.
really great.
That's
got
way above average.
It's got some of the elements.
And this is my thing with I think a lot of these movies is I don't think we keep on saying that it's got good action. I don't think a lot of the action is that good. Like these machine gun fights are the same thing over and over again. There's no sense of geography. They're not really well choreographed or
The
shot.
motorcycle chase with them both being on the motorcycle and switching places and going
That
through
was
a
great.
whole
Like I said, that was my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
saying they never
really-
get it right.
that's
I'm
really
saying they
cool.
frequently,
Yeah.
especially, it's not so much the chases as the gunfights. I feel like there's a lot of gunfights in these Brosnan Bond movies, and they're not really well put together.
Yeah, I felt
Well, they don't call him the Machine Gun Bond for nothing.
yeah.
He's
And-
literally the first and only James Bond who like only uses machine guns primarily.
Yeah.
But at one point, he was
and-
dual wielding a automatic or a machine gun and a silenced PP9 or P99 or whatever his new gun is.
And I don't think the end is quite as good because of that, because it's too much of just that stuff once they get on the boat. When you have like all the scenes on the boat, if maybe somehow they had written it where the boat had less people, so it's not just so much chaos, or the chaos was coming more from the boat getting bombarded by the Navy frigate or something, where you didn't just have all that and you still had the same scenes going on you could do.
Both this movie and the previous one do the same like gimmick where Bond will often find himself surrounded by like chain link fence or like some kind of slatted metal something, and like
Just enough to deflect bullets.
yeah, which would not deflect bullets in real life.
You just see the sparks shooting off the chain link,
Yeah,
like all
exactly.
around him, right next to him, and somehow he's not getting hit by any of these.
Yeah, or he's like like he's running on like a
Graded
graded
floor.
yeah, exactly.
That was both this movie and the last one had so much of that.
Yeah.
That's how it's done from 1995 to 2000.
Yeah.
I think we've said all we can
Yeah.
say about this movie.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that's the show. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, please rate us on iTunes and give us a shout out on social media, or hit up our inbox at Bondcast, jamesbondcast@gmail.com, or go to the James Bond subreddit where I always post the episodes and comments. Let us know what you think. help us spread the word of Bond and subscribe to our show. That's all I got. Bond will return in...
The world is not enough.
Great. The world is not enough. Thanks for listening.
I can listen to your podcast from Stuttgart.
Bond.